Hello there, friends, and welcome back to more Bravely Default. Last time, we explored the Everlast Tower, a fairly large dungeon with a crap load of stairs and treasure chests to find, and some pretty dangerous enemies. And we also swapped around our jobs a little bit to showcase some of the new toys we have gotten, and also revisiting a few old ones. Now, unfortunately, I sort of overestimated how much JP and EXP I'd be getting in this dungeon, and I was hoping to probably try and get job level 9 on Anyas for Red Mage, but I didn't get it in the time frame that I wanted to, so I actually am going to be moving her back to Performer, at least for right now, and putting her back on Black-White Magic as her job command. Nothing is going to change when it comes to her gear. I'll still keep the rod on her, but I just wanted to go ahead and make that quick change. Though I'll be keeping Ring-a-Bell and Tiz on the jobs they are currently. And we've also made it here to the Temple of Earth, which is very different from a lot of the other temples we've seen. There's all these pipelines, and while it is definitely not nearly as run down as the Temple of Wind, it's still showing its age. But before we go ahead and start exploring, let's go ahead and check up on Narende Village. So we reached level 10 with the River Parts shop, getting the special move parts Cure KO, Cure Charm, and Charm Resistance up. And we also got a Turbo Ether. So with that done, the River Parts shop is now fully complete, and the bonus equipment we can get from it is the Silver Glaive. Again, I'm not going to be grabbing anything like that just yet, and we're going to be trying to finish as many parts shops as we can, and shops in general, before we start getting the bonus equipment. There will be a few pieces of bonus equipment that I grab before we finish this all off, but for right now, I want to get as much as I can. So in today's list, we're going to be finally going back to the compound shop and leveling it up to level 8 to get the Dark Mounter compound. Again, we'll be doing 100 villagers for this because it's so much time, even with all of the villagers I have accumulated. And there we go. Combat will be minimized for this episode, as we have already seen everything that we can encounter here through Everlast Tower, and I just kind of want to get the exploring out of the way. But, like every other temple, there are things to inspect.
Let's see. It says, observations of the crystal, submitted by... What? Victoress Court?
The energy within the crystals may be categorized by their names: fire, water, wind, and earth. The amplification effect of a crystal only extends to its corresponding element. For instance, the efficacy of this crystal extends to soil, land, mud, rock, and the like. It is for that reason the Orthodoxy names this the Earth Crystal. As for the method of extracting the energy it holds within...
Wow! Not that I really understand.
Yes, I'm afraid I didn't follow that either. It seems I must look beyond what I had thought was simple desecration of the crystal.
The healing waves emanating from the crystal. This one also reads, submitted by Victoress Court.
Two kinds of waves have been observed emanating from the Earth Crystal. The waves that amplify white magic efficacy were likely used by the Orthodoxy for benediction, healing, and exorcism. The waves that amplify black magic efficacy were likely used for retribution and attacks upon the enemies of the faith. The Lord Marshal ordered that only those waves that amplify white magic are to be extracted and utilized. A new technique wherein an extraction cable is attached to the surface of the crystal without doing it harm has greatly advanced our work.
It seems they truly wish to advance medicine.
That treatment Idia's mother was receiving must have resulted from this research.
How could have such worthy efforts gone so terribly wrong?
interim report on alchemical life research. Oh, this one reads, submitted by Vincent S. Cord.
A tome entitled Alchemical Life was found among a trove of forbidden volumes seized from the Orthodoxy. But rather than some book of the occult dealing in miracles and manifestations, it is an ancient book of medicine. It claims the crystal's white waves can stimulate an individual's cells, and the black waves can link cells between individuals.
Alchemical life? They went beyond merely saving lives?
Wait, there's more. This so-called alchemical life is unstable, and keeping the resulting subjects alive comes at great difficulty. So, it seems they proposed that the research be shut down.
Okay, so we're starting to learn a little bit more about the crystals and how they function. So they are each categorized by which elements that they specialize in, so fire, water, earth, and wind. And they also each have their own black and white magic waves that sort of create both beneficial healing magic, but also destructive magic. It's an interesting concept. Each of the four crystals kind of have their own mastery over at least a certain part of nature.
Let's see. Oh, this is an account by a crystallist of high standing. This is what the author wrote about the Great Plague.
The terrible plague ravaging the world finally reached our shores. Already there are those falling ill in villages to the east. To halt its spread to Orthodoxy headquarters, top officials of the faith have closed all roads and forbidden the influx of people and goods. Controversy arose when a young cleric appealed to his superiors to use the power of the Earth Crystal for purification and medical treatment. But the proposal had no hope of approval, as we hold the crystals as sacred. The hierarchy ignored it. The purging of refugees for seeking to thwart the blockade was as a scene from hell. The purged believers were hailed as martyrs.
How terrible. How could they be so cruel?
By saying we had no other choice, no doubt.
But to have a way to battle the plague and not use it, they simply forsook them. The end of the plague. The date is much later than the past entries.
The young cleric appealed to his superiors day after day to no avail. When the Great Plague showed signs of abating, the Orthodoxy was overjoyed. Those who had advocated the blockade were showered with praise. Some days later, the young cleric was summoned before the Vestal, whereupon he was mocked and reprimanded for hours on end. The plague wiped out his village of birth, save for a few who escaped, and many other villages within the faith's lands suffered the same fate. Henceforth, the young cleric was never again seen amongst the ranks of the Crystal Orthodoxy. Perhaps he was shipped to a post of no consequence, or fallen away altogether.
He sounded like a hero in the making. If he had counted among the Orthodoxy's leaders, this land would have perhaps changed for the better. But then perhaps I wouldn't have been here with you today.
The end of the world.
The Orthodoxy's head temple had already fallen, and it shall not be long before my refuge too is discovered by the invaders. The Earth Vestal was dragged before their leader. It was the once young cleric, now a seasoned soldier, fearless and self-assured. The Vestal faced him, hurling words of contempt and scorn, but ere she could finish, an enraged member of his guard cut her down with a stroke of his long blade, and the Vestal's body fell silently to the floor. all is lost.
So that's how the Earth Vestal was slain.
What an awful tale. With a stroke of his long blade.
And I think we now have a good idea of why Brave, who's most likely the young cleric that has been discussed in those reports, is doing what he's doing. It was because the Orthodoxy, even knowing that they could utilize the crystal for healing purposes to remove the plague, they sat around, did nothing, because they held the crystals as sacred, even though it could have saved millions of lives. What a terrible thought.
The Reconquest of Eternia. I wonder what it says in here. The Reconquest campaign. Troop deployments.
Our uprising was lacking in everything: troops, armaments, cultivation of informants within the Orthodoxy. But the Crystal Orthodoxy would soon put their plans in motion. The debate between our Lord Templar and the Sage continued. At the end of the 3 days and 3 nights, our Lord Templar gave the order to strike. His family was to remain behind in this land. We departed before sunrise the next day. We procured weapons and ammunition in Anchine, and then slipped secretly into Eisenberg. From northern Eisenberg, 3 fortified airships took us across the highlands, at last entering the land of Eternia. An abridged listing of our main invasion forces follows. The valiant usurper Brave the Templar, our Lord Templar, insisted we name him as Usurper. Assault troops from the Temple of Earth. They are to take the Earth Crystal and protect our Crystal Technology Squad. Swordmaster Nobutsune Kamizumi, Commander High Raiden Barbarossa, and Lieutenant Commander Dr. Vincent S. Court, Technology Squad Leader, accompanied by his 10-year-old son, serving as his assistant. Assault troops from the Orthodoxy's head temple. They are to halt all of the institution's functions and seize all of its forbidden tomes and assets. Sir Argent Heinkel, Commander Fiore de Rosa, and Lieutenant Commander Barasilaire. Officer in Training Eritus Professeur, and Dr. Kata Auditors. Occupation forces for the city of Eternia. These troops will be assigned to keeping the peace and preparing for the laying of the cables. Spellfencer Sigma Kent, Commander Einheria Venus, Officer in Training. Holly White, Medic in Training.
Head Temple Occupation. It says this one is written by Sir Argent Heinkel, Commander.
Once the Temple of Earth fell and news of the Earth Vestal's demise reached the Resistance at the head temple, they quickly surrendered. The Orthodoxy soldiers and leaders were stripped of their weapons and confined to the temple. The Lord Templar strictly forbade us from rampant slaughter and maltreatment of the vanquished. None have yet disobeyed his order. Those sympathetic to our cause were allowed to join us, while those who refused were to be released. As for Eritus Professeur, the man sent to the treasure house to seize the Orthodoxy's assets, unsavory rumors about him began to circulate. Investigation into bribes by former Orthodoxy officials and the large-scale disappearance of artworks from the treasure house is underway. Dr. Kata, tasked with deciphering the Orthodoxy's forbidden spells, continues to meet clandestinely with his Lieutenant de Rosa. In comparison, Barislaire's simple enthusiasm for more fighting is almost refreshing to see.
The Occupation of the City. This one says it's written by Commander Sigma Kent.
A month has passed since our bloodless occupation of the city of Eternia, and the people are finally beginning to settle into their daily lives. Einheria, originally from this city, doggedly patrols its streets, saying, "I shall defend this city that is home to my master's training grounds." The occupation force is also comprised of others from this land, and perhaps that is another reason for the easing of the people's fears. A few days prior, it was announced that this land had been rechristened by the Duchy of Eternia. A member of the royal bloodline that once ruled Eternia before the Crystal Orthodoxy was restored to power as Archduke. And naming himself Grand Marshal of the Eternian forces, the Lord Templar began his tireless effort to build a new system of government. When Dr. Vincent S. Court proposed a great feat of engineering to be erected in one corner of the city, it was approved at once. Great cables are to be extended from the Temple of Earth all the way to the city, but I know not of their purpose. Rumor has it that the cables are to be linked with buildings under construction in the medical district, also part of the doctor's proposal. The decreed construction schedule is tight and will surely require additional laborers from among the people and former Orthodoxy members. I spotted medic in training Holly White being scolded by Victor, a boy of the same age, for standing around and watching the construction. Okay, so we have a decent idea of how Grand Marshal Brave recontrolled the city, utilizing every single Eternian that we've met up to this point, and how he began recreating a new system of government. It's a very interesting read, and I'm glad that's here. It's such a very nice piece of lore that we can finally begin to piece together everything that's been going on, and how we can finally begin to understand why Brave has been doing what he's doing, and how he was able to successfully do everything that he has been doing. But all of that information aside, I think that we have seen everything here in the Temple of Earth that we needed to. We've talked to our adventurer buddy. I don't think we need to stock up on any extra items. I think we'll be pretty okay. So, I think there's nothing else left for us to do but to walk through these doors to the Altar of Earth and finally awaken our final crystal. So, let's head inside.
Is this the Earth Crystal? What have they done to it? How awful! What do they think the crystal is? Some kind of toy? Forgive me.
No, Edea. Why should you repent for the sins of your father? Now, let's get on with the rite of awakening.
What's that on the crystal?
That's Gigas Lich! It's the propagator of doom as told of in the sacred texts of the Orthodoxy.
Well, whatever it is, here it comes!
Of course this couldn't be easy. Of course there was some kind of something of doom here. This is the Gigas Lich. This is an interesting boss, as there are many ways of dealing with him, but he also has a lot of very dangerous moves up his sleeve. First things first though, we're going to be going ahead and defaulting with everyone except for Agnes. Agnes is going to be pretty useful here. As I just briefly mentioned, there are many ways of dealing with this boss. And I'm going to go ahead and make a notice real quick. I'm going to be cheesing the goddamn hell out of this boss, utilizing an ability called One More For You, which normally raises a target's BP by 1, but because Gigas Lich is undead, I know, spoilers, it will have the reverse effect, lowering his BP by 1. So we're gonna go ahead and push that button. It'll be really funny, trust me. Ring a bell, we could go ahead and try to utilize Spirit Ward here to try and nullify any elements that Gigas Lich just decides to throw at us, but I don't think I'll do that. Also, I do have White Magic as my sub-ability, unfortunately, so I will put Gigas Lich's stats on the screen right now. For everyone else, though, I'm actually going to go ahead and have everyone default, to see if we can get this strategy to work. Giga Slitch, one more for you. That puts his BP down to the negatives. Now, he will always utilize negative power there every turn. It will not cost BP, but he will always act once. But because we just utilized one more for you, we have now locked him into the negatives, which means he cannot act. So, if we continuously do that, we will constantly put him into the negative, meaning he cannot act. Now, we don't have any notification on what his weakness is. Just to tell you, his weakness is light. So, Idia, we don't really have any way of dealing light damage, so we're going to go ahead and apply fire. Actually, we'll go ahead and apply thunder. We're going to have Anya spam one more for you on Giga Slitch to keep him in the negative. And then Ring a Bell, we're going to go ahead and have you brave twice. And unfortunately, I do not have any means of compounding a weakness because I forgot to equip it on Ring a Bell. So instead, what we're going to do is we are going to set Ring a Bell to spam Blessed Shields on the Giga Slitch, as again, he is undead, so healing abilities will work very well. Tiz doesn't really have anything too crazy to utilize, so I'll go ahead and just throw a Heart Strike at him, as the Excalibur will do extra damage because it is a light-based weapon. Sandaga, Blessing! Yeah, 4,000 damage right there. There's one more for you, he's lowered BP. Extra damage. Again, he will utilize negative power every turn. It's just kind of his thing. It'll increase his physical and magical attack every single time. And it's a little annoying, but it's nothing we can't handle. We're going to, again, try to loop Giga Slitch's BP back to -1. And then we'll go ahead and have everyone else default for right now. The Giga Slitch, if you're doing this fight legitimately... Oh, I messed up a little bit there. If you're doing this fight legitimately, the Giga Slitch, his gimmick is that he has very powerful instant death abilities and earth abilities. So stock up on earth charms or safety charms that will allow you to nullify anything that he can throw at you. He also does have the ability to cast Dread on you. So, like as we saw with Tiz earlier. So just keep yourself managed, and honestly, if you need to, have a dedicated healer that can constantly heal you every single turn. Thankfully, I shouldn't have to worry about that, as I'll be utilizing this strategy of just locking him into a negative BP loop, and he won't have much to deal with that. Heart Strike, and then we'll just do a regular attack and see how that goes. Alright, we're going to have Idia attack. Boom, 3,078. Not bad, she's not going to be doing too crazy damage compared to the previous fight, but chip damage will be more than enough to take him down. I'm going to speed things up, as there's not going to be anything else that's all that interesting here. If you also are perfectly okay utilizing Bravely Second, you can actually pop into Bravely Second and just throw an elixir at him. That is more than enough to actually finish off the encounter, as there's no damage cap in Bravely Second, so the elixir will just immediately kill the Giga Slitch. It's a pretty interesting little thing. I'm perfectly okay just throwing all my guys into the negative because the Giga Slitch isn't going to be hitting me with anything, so we're free to just kind of hit him. This is definitely the most exploitable of the 4 crystal bosses, I guess you could say. And it's pretty funny to watch. So this was actually a strategy that I found out on accident, as I was just trying to manage my performer menu, and all of a sudden I just accidentally clicked the Giga Slitch and didn't know I did until it was too late, and then I realized, oh wait, he's undead, it'll have the reversed effect on him. You know, we'll go ahead and throw him in further into the negative, so that we don't have to worry about it, and we're just gonna continue to throw ourselves at him. I guess we'll go ahead and get Ring-a-Bell's Lux in here. Oh, never mind, he's down. Yeah, so he didn't actually do any physical damage or magical damage to us at all. And look at that, we got the Unscathed bonus from a crystal boss without any real effort. Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. One more for you is, I think, job level 3 for Performer, so it's not even that difficult to get access to this strategy. I highly suggest it, honestly, but if you want a real challenge, this boss can definitely supply it. Be careful, make sure you have any means of nullifying or at least mitigating earth damage and instant death, and you'll be perfectly okay. We got a lot of support abilities there, so we'll check them out here at a later date. And we also obtained a giant axe.
I wonder when that creature first settled here. I refuse to believe this could be my father's doing.
For better or worse, I believe the Eternian forces would have guarded the crystal from such threats. Maybe it took advantage of their weakened state to slip in unnoticed.
Save your jabbering for later. We have a crystal to awaken. Okay, here goes. This is the fourth and final crystal. Make us proud, Agnes! What's wrong? It's really nothing. But time and time again, the Duchy's people have warned us not to awaken the crystal. Agnes! I know. I ought not let it bother me. Now, let us begin, Eri. Not yet! Just a little longer! More! Keep going! Still not enough! You can do this! Stop! That's it! Hooray! We did it!
Holy smokes! That was by far the brightest of the 4 crystals.
Agnes, are you alright?
Yes. Thank you, Tiz. Now all 4 of Luxembourg's crystals have been awakened. Nice work, everyone. What a joyous day. Now perhaps the world...
Is the Great Chasm gone?
Nuh-uh. Awakening all 4 crystals should have caused a pillar of light to rise somewhere in our world. It's the Holy Pillar, the first light, divine source of life and the origin of this world and the heavens above. Once I place my brooch within the Holy Pillar, the first light will spread across the world. And its divine light, born of the awakened crystals, will sweep away all darkness. And the Great Chasm should vanish along with the darkness.
So all we need to do is take you into the Pillar of Light. Then let's go! That is where this will all end.
Lead the way.
I'm with you. Together we go.
The 4th and final crystal has finally been lit. All of this will end here fairly soon, once we've made it to the Holy Pillar. Now, that's what I would say, if it was that simple. But we still have one last thing we need to do before we go and finish this adventure once and for all. And so, next time on Bravely Default, we will be completing the final side quests that we have access to. And then, afterwards, we will be showing off a few extra little things that we haven't looked at around in Luxembourg, including a few extra little Easter eggs or jobs we haven't really gotten a chance to get a good feel for. And then after that, we will finally be embarking towards the Holy Pillar. So, with all that said, I'll see you soon. "3:19. He begged me to bring him with me, and in the end, I caved. He pulled a lever in the rock, or some such, and a tunnel in the magma caverns opened up. I'd never felt such heat. Between the steep, narrow path, this blasted heat, and having a brat in tow, my progress was miserably slow. During one of our short breaks, I was taken unawares by one of Idia's tirades. Distracted or not, careful to watch my back or not, I had allowed the enemy to draw near without so much as realizing it. Absolutely mortifying. Let the boy go. I wasn't about to risk combat with the brat at my side, even if I have my limits. He was nearly passed out from exhaustion. I laid him behind the rocks and stepped forward. I saw no other choice but to fight. In the short while since I'd last seen them, the Vestal, Tiz, and Adia's faces had grown older, stronger. Their teamwork isn't half bad either. I busied myself with the Vestal while thinking on how best to drive back Adia without harming her. Stay back, don't come here. All I could do as I saw the boy stumbling closer was shout. The cavern shook, and the ground beneath him gave way. Tiz was the first to react. Hang in there, we'll get you up. Let go, we'll both fall. Agnes, leave me, go. Unacceptable. My grip, it's slipping. I acted without thinking, clutching Idia to me and pulling her to safety. Magma roared past beneath me. We stood there, wordless, until we caught our breath. Thank you, Idia began. I suppose I owe you for that. I reflexively jumped back. Idia stood there, the Sinokami drawn and ready. Some thanks. Anya shielded the boy while Tiz came to join Idia. As the sound of her swing cut the air, the ground beneath me crumbled once more. I saw the look of shock on Idia's face, as if time were standing still. I slowly fell toward the magma below, joined by a shower of falling rock. My vision went red.